What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Power Play with CJ. Today I'm going to talk about the coaching change the LA Kings made, firing Terry Murray and bringing in John Stevens as the interim coach until they can, find a long-term replacement. Anywho, Kings 12th in the West with 13-12-4 record. Not exactly what they had in mind when they made the big acquisitions of Mike Richards and Simone Gagne this past offseason and re-signed Drew Doughty to a long-term deal. A lot of guys are underachieving, and they got to step up. But it's focused in on the Terry Murray for Stevens trade. Stevens coached a lot of these guys in Philly with Richards and Gagne being the the premium guys that we're talking about here. But Murray brought the Kings out of the doldrums. He was when Crawford got fired, he was the coach that brought him back to the playoffs in 2010 and this year 2011. So to see him go right when they have a good team in place is tough. But also, he needs to hold that team more accountable and make that team, being good isn't good enough. You have to be great when you have that kind of talent. And with Richards, Doughty, Quick between the pipes, and Bernier between the pipes, they got to do. They got to stop making moves. They're 12th in the West, and they're way too talented to be up there. And they need a coach that can come in and, say the status quo isn't what we want. We want to be great. There's a good quote by one of my favorite coaches of all time, Jimmy Johnson, coach of the Miami Hurricanes and won 2 Super Bowls with Dallas Cowboys. And he said, "Would rather be good and be safe or take a risk and be great." And apparently the Kings are just fine being good or, underachieving. You're way too talented to not be one of the elite teams. I mean, looking at Doughty, he's got 2 goals in 8 points, and he's a -4 in 24 games. Kopitar hasn't scored a goal in 8 games. Mike Richards isn't making the team trip to Boston. They got a big one coming up this week against the Bruins. And, they gotta step up. They can't let the status quo be good enough. Like I said, they can't. Like I said, being good isn't good enough when you're great. And the talent's there. It's just a matter of executing. I don't know what else you can say. I mean, it's a shame to see Terry Murray, who I think is a good man, a good coach, get shit-canned like this, but it's the nature of the beast in the NHL. The owners and Dean Lombardi and the ownership in LA had aspirations to win the Stanley Cup this year, and it's still early enough where they can put themselves in a position to be one of the elite of the Western Conference. And, they're starting a 4-game road trip. They've, taken the show on the road. I think what better time to bring in a new coach and get to bond with the players and see what he's dealing with. Like I said, the players going to be held more accountable. And, like I said, the status quo can't be good enough. And I think John Stevens is a hard-nosed guy and was pretty good with Philly. And when that team, he was kind of in a very, very similar situation in Philly when they brought in Laviolette in 2009. He was a team that they'd made the big moves that offseason, bringing in Pronger and, trying to be the team that can win the Cup. And then they're underachieving. He gets fired. They bring in Laviolette, and they go to the Cup Finals. So that Philly team was a team that was picked by many to be great, underachieved at midseason, and right about this time of year, Coach Stevens was shown the door, and Laviolette came in and coached him to the Cup Finals. So I'm hoping LA sees a similar thing, only reversing it a little bit. But let's see what happens. It's going to be the Western Conference is tooth and nails tough. And let's see if the Kings can do what it takes to be one of those elite teams. That's it for the Power Play of CJ, LA Kings coaching change. Stay tuned for more episodes.